The economy, cost of housing, and student loan debt are some reasons for young American unhappiness. Hi, it's Edward, back with another video. Please take a moment to click the thumbs up button below and consider subscribing to the channel. Please also share this video with your friends. Thank you for your support. Today, I read several financial news articles. I've included links to the articles in the description below. I encourage you to read the articles to support the authors and news sources. As a private American citizen, I'd like to report and share my transformative thoughts through commentary regarding small sections of these articles that are of public interest. Today, I read an article on yahoo.com put out by USA Today and written by Christopher Can, titled, "The Young Are Now Most Unhappy People in the United States, New Report Shows." The author of this article referenced the World Happiness Report that was released Wednesday, which showed that those under 30 knocked the U.S. out of the top 20 happiest countries for the first time since the annual report was initially published in 2012. When I first read this, I really started to feel bad for those who are under the age of 30 in America. Some were told to study hard in high school so they could score well on college entrance exams so they could get into a good college and earn a degree. Then, they could get a good paying job and have a better quality of life than their parents. What some were not told is that you need to be strategic about what type of degree to pursue. You need to make sure it is in a field that is in demand. Some young people pursued their passion and then graduated with a mountain of student loan debt with few, if any, good paying employment prospects. Some may now be working a dead-end job and wondering where they went wrong. Many may be working full-time, but find themselves unable to live on their own because their earnings aren't enough to cover the cost of rent, which has skyrocketed in recent years. Some may even struggle to afford basic transportation. Not everyone lives in an area with good public transportation, which can complicate matters for low earners. For those who have found a way to live on their own in a modest apartment, they may be struggling to cover their very expensive grocery bills each month. Life in America is not easy for young people who are just getting started in life. Many will struggle to buy a home on their own in this competitive real estate market. Some may not qualify for a mortgage given the higher interest rate environment that we are all now in. For the record, I think our current interest rate environment is normal. It frustrates me that the leaders of our country allowed for artificially low interest rates to stay in place as long as they did. Some could even construe this as reckless. Getting back to the article, the author elaborated about the World Happiness Report, which was compiled by Gallup, the United Nations, and other groups. The top factors contributing to the rapid decline in the U.S. were young people's dissatisfaction with their support system, their living situation, waning confidence in the government, and a sense that they have less freedom to make life choices. This is all according to Laura Aknin, an editor of the report. Apparently, USA Today spoke with young Americans who pointed to the economy, the cost of housing, student loan debt, political polarization, social media, climate change, and war as reasons for their unhappiness. Well, my friends, these reasons are very telling in my opinion. I previously addressed the cost of housing. It is interesting that student loan debt was mentioned. I have no doubt some young people are upset that their student loan debt has not yet been forgiven, since that was discussed as a possibility during the last election. I still see articles in the news suggesting that that is still a possibility. I realize some people have seen their student loan debt forgiven, but we are talking about relatively small amounts of money for select groups. I truly believe some people with student loan debt thought all of their debt was going to be forgiven. I have to wonder if some people loaded up on other debt because they were so optimistic about their student loan debt being forgiven. When that didn't happen, they found themselves in an even more difficult financial situation. I am sure that some young people are not happy now that student loan payments have resumed after being on pause for approximately 3 years. This may really impact budgets for some individuals. College is not cheap these days. Even attending a state school can easily result in $80,000 or more in student loan debt after 4 years. The cost of tuition, room and board, books, and supplies is very expensive. Getting back to the article, I'm going to share with you the most interesting part in my opinion. The author further discussed what is causing dissatisfaction and mentioned social media's comparison culture has left young millennials and Gen Zers exhausted and unsatisfied. Well, my friends, I can understand this. If some of these young people are living in their parents' basement and working a dead-end job and carpooling to and from that job because they can't afford a car, it is probably frustrating to get on TikTok or YouTube and see short videos of people younger than them driving Lambos and G-Wagons and being asked what they do for a living. Some of these people won't even answer that question because it wouldn't be appropriate. In other words, what they do for a living is not something to discuss in public. I have no doubt some people who feel like their life is going nowhere fast probably feel bad that these other people online appear to be living the good life, flexing in their fancy vehicles. Those who gave up 4 years of their life to study hard, earn a degree, and then go into debt, and they are having trouble repaying that debt, probably feel even worse. It's not just social media, in my opinion. Turn on one of those house hunting shows where the real estate agent is showing million-dollar houses to young people in their early 20s who are upset the house isn't updated enough for their tastes. It just doesn't have a Wolf stove in the kitchen, and it has outdated granite countertops instead of quartz countertops, and the pool in the backyard was designed to function with chlorine instead of salt water. And they don't care for the landscaping lighting in the backyard. Clearly the sellers didn't hire the right landscape architect. I'm sure those who are struggling wonder how these people who are comparable in age to them are out there looking at million-dollar homes during the middle of the day when they should be at a job. You can begin to see how some young people in the US who watch this stuff could start to feel bad about themselves. Here's what is interesting. Young people in Central and Eastern Europe and parts of Sub-Saharan Africa report increases in happiness, according to the report. Experts said it's not clear why these regions are experiencing the opposite trend as the US, Canada, and other English-speaking countries. In my opinion, life here in the US is not what it used to be. After World War II, when other countries were in ruin, many people around the world bought goods manufactured here in America. We were an industrial superpower back then. We provided the world with the goods that they needed. This afforded many everyday Americans who worked in the manufacturing industry with a good standard of living. This began to erode as the decades passed and jobs were offshored to increase corporate profits. Our current economy is quite different than it was during the middle of the 20th century. Sure, young people back then didn't have iPhones, the internet, streaming services on TV, or cars that can park themselves. But they could graduate from high school and get a good paying job with union protection and a pension and earn a livable wage to support a family. Many didn't need to delay starting a family because of personal finances. Times were different then than they are today. I'm sure some of you will disagree and say that we live in the best of times and there are a lot of opportunities everywhere since unemployment is low. Sure, there are opportunities today, but many don't lead to full-time employment that pays a livable wage during this period of high inflation. Some people are working multiple jobs in the gig economy and struggling to keep their heads above water. For the young people watching this video, go rent the American Graffiti movie that was set in 1962. Realize this is just a movie, but George Lucas as the director and Francis Ford Coppola as the producer did a wonderful job with this film. Compare life today with what it was like back in 1962. I read some of the comments beneath this article, and I found some of them to be interesting. However, some may interpret them to be a bit harsh. Keep in mind, these are the opinions of the commenters, not me. One of the commenters said, "They stare at their phone for hours, lost in a virtual world populated by friends they've never met, listening to influencers. They don't know how to cope with the real world, don't know how to think for themselves, don't know the difference between fact and opinion, don't know how to interact with humans in the real world. Of course, they're unhappy." Another commenter said, young people have had their expectations wildly inflated by crazy social media. They are just now discovering the four-letter word work, and that just seems wrong to them. Welcome to the world the rest of us and now you live in. Another commenter said, being lied to constantly will do that to a person. What do you think about all this? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you want to know another big difference between today and 1962? The cost of health care. I read an article today on yahoo.com put out by GMA and written by Yi-Jin Yu, titled, Mom's $4 million Bill for Quadruplets Care Sparks Conversation on High Healthcare Costs. The author of this article referenced Hannah Castle, a mom of 4 from Columbus, Ohio, who had quadruplets in 2021. Their NICU bills totaled over $4 million. All of this was covered by Ohio Medicaid. The author of this article indicates the costs of delivering a baby are on the rise. The author shared a quote from Katie Martin, the president and CEO of the nonprofit Healthcare Cost Institute, who said, our research shows that for people who get insurance through work, the average cost of having a baby is about $24,000, and that's from prenatal period to the postpartum period. She said for childbirth itself, the average is close to $13,000. In my opinion, the cost of healthcare is completely disconnected from the real world. Let me explain. The national average salary in the U.S. in quarter 4 of 2023 was $59,384 according to USA Today. After taxes are taken out, the money that people bring home is often not enough to pay extremely expensive medical bills. I realize we live in a capitalistic society, but healthcare companies have raised their prices so high that it's almost unaffordable for many Americans, even for those who have good health insurance. I was talking to a friend of mine whose wife just had a baby. Their cost after insurance was approximately $6,000. He told me he paid this bill, but he is struggling with inflation and having a very hard time covering all of the bills for his family. His wages just haven't kept pace with inflation, and he can't believe how much everything costs these days. He is worried about how he is going to pay for future medical bills if some of his children get sick or injured. What do you think about the cost of healthcare in America? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Please keep in mind that everything in this video is for entertainment purposes only, and nothing in this video is financial advice or advice of any kind. If you need advice, seek advice from a qualified professional in good standing who puts your interests first and foremost. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Please also consider sharing this video with your friends. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. Check out some of the great books that I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.